NFL Insider. Teams are absolutely monitoring Dolphins, star WR. The Miami Dolphins have had quite an off-season, and it started right after their season-ending loss to the New York Jets. Wide receiver Tyreek Hill famously said, "I'm out, bro," more than implying that he was finished in Miami. Since then, there has been some fence mending going on, but Hill keeps talking. He talked about the importance of practicing in training camp before being late to a training camp practice. Then he decided to offer his opinion on the Dolphins' short yardage woes, because of course. Now, Hill is nursing an oblique injury, and, according to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, other teams around the NFL are monitoring his situation regarding a potential trade. So his status is uncertain, with an oblique injury right now. As for when he gets back in the lineup, is still up in the air, Fowler said on SportsCenter. Right now, I have talked to a few teams that are at least monitoring his future a little bit. Could he be a potential trade target? The Dolphins said they don't want to trade Tyreek Hill. The Dolphins have every reason to hold on to Hill. They truly believe they are better than last year's 8-9 record, and, let's be honest here, head coach Mike McDaniel and general manager Chris Greer are head coaching and general managing for their jobs right now. You might not know it from the Jalen Ramsey and Jonas Smith trade, but this is not a blow-up-the-team and start-over situation. Fowler says that could change if enough other teams decide to start calling. I know the Dolphins earlier this summer were telling teams, "No, we're not trading Tyreek Hill," Fowler continued. But they just wonder, is he going to be available? It could be wishful thinking. Maybe they want him to be available, but he's a player that when I bring up the teams and say, "Who's sort of a trade target you're watching?" They bring up Tyreek Hill, so we'll see. He's a big option for Tua, and that'd be a major move if they did move away from him. If things go south in South Beach, Hill could be available sooner rather than later. Coaches and teammates acknowledge that relationships with Hill need to be fixed. It's not outside media speculation that Hill has done some damage within the Dolphins' locker room. Quarterback Tua Tagovailoa said that he and other teammates are working to get their trust restored with the mercurial wideout. "Sure, I would say we're still continuing to do that," Tagovailoa said. "But it's not just with me. It's with a lot of the guys. I'm not the only one that heard that. You guys aren't the only people that heard that. A lot of people that follow football, that follow the Miami Dolphins, that follow Tyreek, that are fans of his, everyone has seen that." McDaniel even said essentially the same thing last week. "These are people that are working on the relationship," McDaniel said. "I think the power in that is both of the players. Like most relationships, you learn and you grow, and when you invest you go through whatever, but the relationship becomes more real. The status of these relationship repairs could help to determine Hill's availability. That, and if they get off to a 1-4 start, and the employment hatchet comes out." The air in South Florida was thick with August humidity, but that didn't stop the buzz from circulating through NFL front offices. Somewhere between the balmy training fields and the icy conference rooms of rival teams, a name was being whispered with increasing frequency. The Miami Dolphins' electrifying star wide receiver. An NFL insider, a figure who lived in the grey space between journalists and scouts, had dropped the nugget during an early morning appearance on a sports radio show. His words were deliberate, weighted with certainty. Teams are absolutely monitoring him. He didn't need to say the name. Everyone listening knew who he meant. A player whose route running was as surgical as it was explosive, whose top-end speed had left entire secondaries clutching at air. A man who had transformed from a first-round pick into a cultural phenomenon in Miami, and who had now, intentionally or not, become the center of one of the league's most intriguing storylines. The Dolphins' dilemma. The Dolphins had built their offense like a track team masquerading as a football roster, with their quarterback delivering lasers and an offensive scheme that turned open grass into a weapon. Their star receiver had been the ultimate mismatch nightmare. Every Sunday, he turned defensive coordinators' game plans into scrap paper. But football isn't played in a vacuum, and the NFL's business side has a way of creeping in like a slow, inevitable tide. Contract timelines, salary caps, and whispers of dissatisfaction are like blood in the water for rival general managers. And now, according to the insider, several teams were quietly circling, waiting to see if the Dolphins would blink first. Some believed it was about money. Others suspected it was about fit, usage, or even personal vision for the player's career. The truth was more complex. The receiver wasn't actively demanding an exit, but the league had a way of reading between the lines, even when those lines were invisible. The watchers. In the Midwest, a contender with a quarterback in his prime had already done preliminary math, seeing how the receivers' cap hit could fit into their books if they were willing to move a couple of high draft picks. On the West Coast, an up-and-coming team with a creative offensive guru saw visions of pairing the Dolphins' star with their own speedy weapons, imagining defensive backs panicking before the ball was even snapped. And in the Northeast, a team long known for calculated, ruthless trades had scouts watching film on every Dolphins game, looking for signs of frustration. A missed high five, a subtle shrug, a glance toward the sideline after a blown play. Inside Miami's walls, publicly, the Dolphins' brass brushed off the rumors. "We love our guy. He's a cornerstone of this team," the GM told reporters after practice. His voice was steady, but those who knew him well recognized the faint edge of defensiveness. Privately, there was tension. The receiver's agent had been in talks with the front office for months, but the numbers were challenging. The market for elite wideouts had exploded, with mega deals resetting expectations overnight. The Dolphins wanted to keep their star. Of course they did. But every dollar committed to one player meant less flexibility elsewhere. The coaching staff, meanwhile, was caught in the middle. "We just need him on the field," the head coach said bluntly in a staff meeting. "The rest is above my pay grade." But he knew that uncertainty could spread through a locker room like wildfire. The receiver's perspective. For his part, the receiver remained outwardly calm. He was still making highlight reels, still showing up to practice early, still signing autographs for kids who wore his jersey with pride. But beneath the surface, the thought lingered. What's the shelf life of my prime? Wide receivers live in a world of speed, agility, and sudden injury risks. Careers can tilt in an instant. And when you're at the top of your game, the clock ticks louder. Was Miami the best place to maximize his legacy? Was the offense built for his style in the long run? Could another city, another quarterback, elevate him even further? He didn't say these questions out loud. He didn't need to. The NFL is full of professional eavesdroppers who can hear silence better than words.